You mentioned him. Let's talk to him. One of the election day's biggest stories coming out of Maryland, where Democrat Wes Moore handily defeated Republican Dan Cox. Moore took the stage on Tuesday after his win and talked about patriotism and what it means to him.
These results are still rolling in, right? But it is clear, y'all gave us a mandate. Something else is very clear, too. True patriotism is alive and well in Maryland, and it is alive and well in the United States of America, too. I grew up in a family of people who loved this country, even when the country didn't always love him back. And my entire life has taught me that patriotism does not mean waving a flag around. It doesn't mean telling our neighbors that we're better than them. Real patriotism means bringing people together. It means lifting people up. It means improving each other's lives. Patriotism means knowing that this country is great, but if we work together, we are going to make it even greater because more people will benefit from that.
And Maryland's governor-elect, Wes Moore, joins us now. Mr. Governor-elect, calling you that for the first time. Welcome to the show. Congratulations to you. For people who don't know, you had no political experience, hadn't run for anything. You came out of a very crowded Democratic field with people better known inside the party, people who had raised more money than you did. You won the nomination. And then 2 nights ago, handily defeated the Republican there. Wes, how did you do it?
We did it by going out and earning it, by going out to every single part of the state. And I think one of the things that's really exciting for us isn't just the win, it's how we won. We were winning in urban areas and rural areas and suburban areas because we believe in the state of Maryland that we've got a common goal. And, I remember saying on the campaign trail when I was leading paratroopers in combat, I was a member of the 82nd Airborne Division. Do you know a question I never once asked my soldiers? What's your political party? Because it didn't matter, right? We had one goal, one mission. And that's the way we led this entire time, that this is going to be Maryland's decade. Maryland is going to lead. Maryland is going to win. But the only way we're going to do it is if we do it together. And I think that message resonated.
Governor-elect, it's Claire McCaskill. First of all, congratulations.
Hey, Senator.
You have a dear friend
Thank
in
you.
Jason Kander in my state and many others who have sung your praises to me. I want to talk to you about crime. Public safety was supposed to be the wedge issue of this election cycle used by the Republicans. How are you going to address what has become legitimately a real concern by a whole lot of folks, especially living around urban areas, about the crime problem that you and local prosecutors are facing in Maryland?
Thank you, Senator. And it's true. And this is personal. I mean, I had to come trail earlier this year because a 69-year-old grandmother who's a member of my church in East Baltimore, who's a custodian inside the church, was killed in the church bathroom, and I spoke at her vigil. So this is not just real, it is personal. And when we talk about what it's going to take, and the collaborative nature of what it's going to take, I think about the fact that we receive support from everyone from Progressive Maryland to the police union. And people saying, well, how are you able to get that coalition together? The answer is because I told each and every one of them the same thing. I need you, and you will have my ear. Right? And so when we talk about the things that the state can uniquely do to address that, the state has to move aggressive. The state has to be aggressive in making sure that we are getting and keeping violent offenders off of our streets and keeping these illegal guns out of our neighborhoods. And that means fixing the fact that we have a broken parole and probation system here in the state of Maryland, where 1/3 of all violent offenders are people who are in violation of parole and probation. The state has a unique function in fixing that. The state has a unique function in actually being able to support violent intervention programs that we have here in the state of Maryland, like We Are Us and Ceasefire. Because the people who are closest to the challenge are the ones closest to the solutions. And much of the violence is retaliatory. The problem is most of these programs and interventions are either underfunded or unfunded. So we have to move in partnership to be able to address the fact that you need to deal with crime and public safety as we see it now. But also we are never going to arrest or militarize our way out of something that's a bigger, larger, and structural problem.
Congratulations. This is Jen Psaki, so I'll just echo Claire McCaskill. And watching you over the last couple of days has made me excited about the future of the Democratic Party. I wanted to ask you, you campaigned all across the state. You talked to Republicans, Democrats, Independents. What are the issues you think you can work with Republicans on in your state to make progress moving forward at this time when we're pretty polarized as a country?
Yes, thank you. Well, I think one thing that people continue to talk about all throughout the state is this issue of the economy. And people just want to make sure that as we're growing as an economy, that it's participatory, that everyone has a chance to participate in that. And the thing that I'm excited to work on is how are we making sure we are getting people back to work? And that means things like fixing a child care system. In the state of Maryland alone, we've had over 750 child care centers close since the beginning of COVID. If you don't have proper child care, you're not going to get parents, and particularly young parents, back into the workforce. We've got to focus on job reskilling and job retraining, where, in my opinion, we went too far when we started evaluating high schools exclusively based on things like four-year college acceptance rates. That's not the path for every student. It wasn't my path. I joined the military when I was 17 years old. I was the only candidate in this race who has a 2-year college degree. So we have to make sure we're creating economic pathways for all of us. And I think the other big thing is and Maryland will be the first state in this country to have a service year option for all high school graduates. And we're going to do it for 3 reasons. One, it helps to address the college affordability crisis. The second thing is I'm a big believer in experiential learning. And the third reason, it's because service is sticky. And in this time of political divisiveness and vitriol, it is service that will help to save us. And I saw it on the campaign trail. I had people I served with in Afghanistan, some of whom who weren't Marylanders, some of whom who weren't Democrats, but they came to door knock for me. And they were literally knocking on doors and just telling people, let me tell you about the guy that I served with. Service will help to save us, and I believe deeply that Maryland will help to lead the way.
Governor-elect Al Sharpton, we haven't talked since you won, but we talked a lot while you were running, and down through the years, worked together.
Yes, sir.
Let me ask you, as one that has, in my opinion, I agree with Jen that you probably are at the forefront of a new era of where the Democratic Party could go. Where is that message? What is that message that the Democrats ought to take into now going into past the midterm elections into 24 and beyond? Because we're hearing some hysteria from the right that I think lost a lot of its of its volume and vibration in the midterm election. And on the left, how do we identify the message that resonates nationally and using a case study of what you were able to do in Maryland?
When I first joined the military, I was 17 years old, and we learned a mantra when I first joined, and it was simple. It was leave no one behind, ever. Right? You get one of my people, I will send a battalion in to go get them if I have to. And I was very clear on the campaign trail. That is not just a mantra. That is my value statement. And it is not just the value statement come January. That is going to be the new mission of the state of Maryland. We will be a state that leaves no one behind. And I think what we have to do is we've got to make sure that we are speaking to everybody and know that when we're talking about our collective vision for economic growth, our collective vision for work and wages and wealth for all Marylanders, I think we need to be very clear that we're speaking to everybody. We're speaking to the biotech entrepreneur, and we're speaking to the waterman. We're speaking to the corrections officer, and we're speaking to the farmer. We're speaking to everybody. And I think we cannot allow this idea of who loves this country or what does it mean to be a patriot to be dominated by a group or an individual or a party whose definition of defending democracy is trying to tear it down. Know that when I talk about my definition of patriotism was putting on the uniform of this country and serving with paratroopers overseas. And when I talk about paratroopers, I'm talking about teachers and first responders. These are people who love this country and fight for it. And we cannot allow or cede that position to anybody.
Maryland's Governor-elect Wes Moore. Wes, congratulations again. Thanks so much for being with us, and give our best to the incoming First Lady as well. Thanks so much, Wes.
Thank you, guys. Thank y'all.
So.